some institutions, they work in French, in the official language, and that it's normal, as we see it in the United States and Italy and Denmark, political debates are held in the national language, and it's expected. It makes sense. And I think the vast majority of Anglophones are not only comfortable following a debate in French, but they're okay with the principle that French is the common language.
That, of course, is Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, who joined us just after 3 o'clock. He is leader of the PQ, trying to explain why he didn't see fit to do an English leadership debate, but did see fit to come on CJD, an English radio station, to take callers from listeners. I mean, we appreciate him coming on, Tom, but I will be honest, the first thing I asked him was, you'll understand people think this is kind of strange.
Well, first of all, I think you and Natasha did a fabulous job. Callers were great. Because of the horrible traffic today, I was on my way to my French panel show that I do. I got to hear the whole thing. I thought that CJD 800 did a fabulous job. I'm glad he came on. He's articulate. A lot of his stuff doesn't hold water. His bit about the debate, it's complete and utter baloney. If Legault had been going to that debate, he would have been there in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. You know that.
Well, he said no to that question, right? Because I asked him that. He said, no. We'd made up our mind even before the Premier said no.
Well, it's funny. They made up their mind, but they forgot to share it with anybody. And it was only Legault, when Legault said it, that they came up with that. It's obvious that they were just in lockstep. They weren't going to get out anti-Anglo'd by our friend Legault. So, I mean, it's fair game. Some of his stuff around Bill 96, again, I mean, if you scratch the surface, it doesn't work. For example, he's got this sort of Quebec version of replacement theory, right? Oh, well, the reason that we have to have this new law that, completely upsets the social order that's been established for over 45 years here in Quebec since Bill 101. Well, it's because, don't you know, there's all these language transfers. Now, this whole bit about language transfers is the fruit of the imagination of two people, the same ones. They've been showing up to these studies. I remember them way back in the day when I worked on the language file in Quebec City at the Conseil de la Langue Française. They've been singing the same tune. There's no backing for it. There's no substance to it. But it's you better be afraid because you're going to become Louisiana. And it's a game that gets played. He's repeating it. And he's far too smart to believe it. But that's what happens with these guys. Same thing with Simon Jeanin Barrette. Simon Jeanin Barrette never held any real consultations before doing Bill 96. All this stuff had been decided in advance for political reasons, to scare people, to say Montreal is becoming English. We got to do something about it. All the demographics proved the exact opposite. That the massive language transfers are towards French, but they don't want to hear about that. As long as they can send somebody around for 24 hours with a camera and a microphone and find one poor soul, who probably a new arrival, who says either bonjour or hi, oh, that's horrible, or speaks to them in English in a dépanneur. I got that one this week. Then that's all the proof you need. Who needs social sciences when you've got anecdotes?
So, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was just going to say what I liked about talking to Paul St. Pierre Plamondon today was how likable he is. I don't agree with anything that he's saying, Tom, and yet we were able to have a civilized conversation, which seems to me a rarity these days.
Yeah, and civilized and very polite. I mean, he's deferential. He went with the flow. Longish answers. He knows how to play out the clock because you guys would say, okay, time for one more question, and he would just chew up the clock for the next, for all the time that was left. Aaron would sneak in a last question. But no, I think that he deserves full marks for playing the game, coming on the air, answering all questions, didn't duck anything. And the listeners were great too, because, the questions went far afield. But again, everybody was on their best behavior. I thought it was a really, really worthwhile exercise that the team put together over at CJD 800.
Thank you, Tom. So now all of the leaders have appeared, with the exception of François Legault, who has...
Any day now he'll get back to us. Yeah.
Any month now he'll get back to you. As soon as he's finished reading the coroner's report.
Yeah.
He's not quite finished.
By the way, can I just ask, because I asked the question of Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, I mean, we've talked, enough about sovereignty. We know the PQ is basically just kind of floundering these days. And I said to him, it's pretty much basic, general knowledge that really people are not interested for the most part in this province, both Anglos and Francos, from what the studies tell us, in separation or sovereignty. He turned around and said, no, the numbers we have, 40%, and in one case, people beyond a certain age, 52% still think it's an issue. Where's that from, Tom?
From his imagination. Hope springs eternal. How can you be a hardcore separatist party and then believe that people are actually not interested in what you're selling anymore? So, of course, they're going to continue to sing that song. They've got a poll that says that what people who are above 74 years old, 40% of them think it's still a good idea. Look, the real number, because I had them when I was in Quebec City, the real number has never been over 25 to 28% people who tomorrow morning would leave. Mm-hmm. During the first referendum, 1981, look at the question. Even there, they only got 40%. The one that was close in 95, we all know about the cheating. But beyond that, look at the question. And so if it's a straight up, you want to become an independent country tomorrow, it's never gone over 30%, ever.
Okay. Let me talk something going on federally, provincially anyway, in terms of Alberta. This was Jason Kenney from last night. Brian?
While 51% of the vote passes the constitutional threshold of a majority, it clearly is not adequate support to continue on as leader. And that is why tonight I have informed the president of the party of my intention to step down as leader of the United Conservative Party.
Okay, I'm confused, Tom. He's
too.
Stepping down as leader of the UCP. Does this mean he stays as premier for how long? What happens next?
Well, he talked about the Constitution at the beginning of that answer, so let's recall that under the Constitution, the Premier of the province, or the Prime Minister of Canada, is the person who commands the confidence of the House. So that would mean that he would have to have the confidence of his caucus, because he met with them today. So if he did that, I was doing CTV News Channel last night with our colleagues there, and it kept getting pushed back. Oh, we're going to get the results 15 minutes later. It's going to be another 15 minutes. And what I found out this morning from a couple of sources in Edmonton was, look, here's the deal. He was talking to everybody that he could get hold of last night, essentially trying to seal a deal where he would be allowed to stay on as premier, get their support for that. There wouldn't be an interim leader. He'd be the person who would carry it through to the day when the party could organize a leadership race. He would, be a softer landing for him. He would be able to boast that the economy was coming back because, of course, the price of oil is helping that a great deal. And I think that that's the deal that they're going to make. Ralph Klein did the same thing. Ralph Klein was shown the door with a 55% vote. And when that happened, they asked Klein to stay on, and he did. But the context was quite different because Klein was still loved by the public. His party had decided that it was time for him, Klein, to move on. But the public was very fond of him, and there was still a store of goodwill in caucus, so he got to stay. Jason Kenney's a very divisive guy, and the people who are in that party are very upset with him. So we'll see whether this actually holds, but I think that probably in the interest of the party and the interest of the province, having him stay on is the best thing. There was actually two of the people shared rumors that they had heard that he was thinking of running for his own succession. I don't think for a second that he would actually do that, given what he's been through. But he's a feisty, he's quite the fighter, so nothing's impossible.
Okay.
What I'm confused about is that he said if he got 51% support, he would stay on, and then comes out.
Well, he won. I mean, he gets to say, look, I won. And he could have easily gone to that microphone and said, I told you exactly what I would do with this result, and I'm staying on. But the real truth, there's the truth, and then there's nothing but the truth. The nothing but the truth part is you can't stay on at 51%. You just don't have the ability. You can't sit down with your caucus and say, I represent the authority in the United Conservative Party of Alberta, because he doesn't anymore. And I have to say, on a personal level, for obvious reasons, I'm very sympathetic. I'm very empathetic for what he's gone through, because it's no fun to put your heart and soul into this.
Sure.
And, Jason's not married. He doesn't have a family. This is his life. This is his family, politics. And so, it's a huge shock to him. But he did it very well last night when he went before the cameras and the microphones. He looked extremely tired. I am told inside that his team had been aware for a couple of weeks that it wasn't going to go well. So I think he put as brave a face as he could on it, and is stepping away now. That's it.
Tom, real quick.
I love what you just did, Tom, because I couldn't believe that I would ever feel sympathy or feel badly for Jason Kenney. Thank you. You just humanized him for me, and I'm like, okay. No, but seriously.
Well, there's something that was surprising. Both Kenney and Poilievre were very polarizing figures. They're both very abrasive in their public persona. When you're with them individually, they're not okay? They're not that way at all. I mean, both of them, once you're up close and personal, they can be charming and funny and quite nice to talk to. But it's the persona that both of them projected that make it so difficult to deal with them.
I'll take your word for it.
Tom, Tom, just real quick before we run out of time, is Canada announcing this afternoon, yes, it is banning Huawei from 5G here. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Well, first of all, the question is should and has to be asked, why did you take so long to come up with this decision? They promised this decision at the latest in the fall of 2019. So now, and this is the part that caught me because I got to listen to Champagne's presentation just a few minutes ago, and he said, well, companies that have already installed this equipment from Huawei are going to have to stop using it and have it removed. Well, guess who's going to compensate for that? Ding, 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 the same old taxpayer that pays for everything else, because you can't tell people that something that they were doing that was completely legal has now become illegal. They're going to have to remove it and tell them that retroactively it's up to them to soak up the bill. A lot of details missing on this thing, but it came on the same day, by the way, that China said, okay, Canadian canola is allowed back in. Now, this has a lot to do with that because, of course, the Chinese have been tough with Canada lately. Now Canada getting tough back with them. The Chinese were trying to perhaps purchase a little bit of peace, but obviously it was too little too late.